It's fascinating what just transpired there. But Miguel Estrada is described by many, and certainly many on the right. I mean, this is a thorn on the side of Republicans. It was a purely partisan filibuster, as described by most Republicans, that kept Miguel Estrada from becoming an appeals court federal justice. And yet now, here you have Lindsey Graham almost throwing that back in Elena Kagan's face, almost as if to say, we are not going to do to you what your Democratic colleagues. You notice he first had her establish herself as a Dem, and then he reminded her about what her Dem colleagues had done to Estrada, and then he had her say that Miguel Estrada is her friend, and then he asked her if he'd be competent enough to be an appeals court justice, to which she trumped him and said not only would he be a good appeals court justice, he'd be a good Supreme Court justice. This is a fascinating exchange. To what avail? To what avail? Let me bring in, do we have our guys in Washington ready to go? I don't know who I want to ask this of, but I don't know if you were as fascinated by it as I was. And Victoria Tenzing, maybe to you, there were some good points there made by Lindsey Graham. What was he trying to say?
Well, if he was being a great trial attorney, and we were all sitting here anticipating where he was going, but we all knew he was going somewhere. As he started out, you could just tell it was the method of a trial lawyer doing cross-examination. It is a sticking point with those of us who are conservative and thought Miguel Estrada should have been on the bench, and that the Democrats went after him for he wasn't the right kind of Hispanic. Terrible reasons, and he's a brilliant man. And her stock just went up with me for that one question.
Was that purely?
Rick,
go ahead, John.
Rick, well, I guess I'm bound to mention, I was also in that section with Miguel and Elena. I was different alphabetically, so I didn't sit next to them. But I've known them both for a long time. And the person who wasn't mentioned in that exchange was Barack Obama, because Barack Obama said during John Roberts' testimony, you are qualified, clearly, but politically, I just don't think you're the person I want as Chief Justice. And I think it really illustrates two different models of how senators vote for and against Supreme Court justices. One is it sort of basic competence, and that's where we get the 90-0 confirmations, or is it like today, where basic competence is a given, but there's also political acceptability to each senator. And we've simply moved, and that's why it used to be 90-0 in these confirmations, and now the most anyone's going to ever get is in the 60s.
Hey, John. Point, set, match. Lindsey Graham. Point, set, match. Rick, part of what he was doing is there were some new members on this committee. Senator Franken is new to this committee. I don't think Senator Whitehouse was around in the days of the previous confirmation hearing we're talking about. But what he was trying to say is, look, we're not the ones who have started the politicization. Now, the Democrats could say it goes back before that as well. But he is saying, shame on you all. Here's your nominee. You're going to vote for her. She says this gentleman's qualified to be on the federal bench, even to be on the Supreme Court. So when some of us, Senator Graham's an open question, but his point essentially is when some of us vote against her, don't come yelling at us saying, oh my gosh, she was qualified. How dare you?
Yeah.
Hey, Rick.
Go ahead.